Welcome back to These Guys Again, or for short, the TGA podcast, where we get together, four of us, around a table and discuss this week in film, news, and a hot topic.
Hot topic.
Ugh.
You painted a beautiful picture there in our minds.
It was a great one. And returning back, I want to mention it first, back again after his second absence in our 4 episodes is Tom Adam.
Hello.
Domination is coming.
The fans are just coming back. Myself, Craig, Irv, and of course our news hound Mark.
Good evening.
Because you have all the information in front of you, I have to give you the respect.
Hit us with the news!
You can find us on YouTube or Bandcamp every Monday-ish. I'm going to say ish.
Should be every Monday.
It should be every Monday. And if you want to leave a comment, we will listen to them and reply to them eventually. And okay, but we'll just get straight to it, Mark, with the news.
Well, the first and most exciting bit of news of the week. McG may direct Masters of the Universe film. That's exciting stuff.
It's McG.
Sorry, McG.
McG.
What was the last thing McG did?
Did you do?
Because he did Terminator Salvation, I remember
yeah.
that, but what's he done since?
I did. This is War.
Actually, was it Megaton or was it
War?
Oh yeah.
Tom Hardy and Chris Pine.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that.
Yeah, he's not terrible.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah.
He's
quite
the
fun.
So I'm fighting over Reese Witherspoon.
Oh god, I do remember this film.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
it was fun. I mean, I like Masters of the Universe. I mean, but it is kind
He-Man.
of He-Man and Skeletor and all that.
I guess Masters of the Universe sounds better than He-Man.
But it's also kind of camp at the same time, and I think
massive.
McG could make
Ram Man,
something watchable.
Fisto,
Yeah.
all key characters.
I think McG could make something watchable out of it. So it's not the worst choice for director.
Yeah, it's very tongue in cheek in what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think you could ever make He-Man just a serious film.
Well, you could, but it'd have to be really dark.
It'd be changing a lot of what it is.
Well, I don't know. You could make He-Man. I always think the Thor films are quite He-Man-esque.
Yeah, actually, that's a good comparison.
So you could. I think you could with Marvel films now and all the weird stuff that we seem to be making into movies that works.
Yeah.
Look at Guardians. It's pretty ridiculous.
Masters of the could work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could definitely make it work. Just don't have He-Man dressed like like he's normally dressed, like pretty much nothing, basically. So
I'd work on a Kung Fury sense. I'd like that.
what?
Just Kung Fury, just all green screen.
Half
an hour.
To be honest, that looks better than the actual original film.
Yep.
But also, someone else told me the other day that a good cup of tea should be the color of He-Man. And I thought that was a good. And they sent me a picture of the top of a cup of tea with He-Man's face floating in it.
That's
That's perfect.
It's quite good. It's quite clever.
So the stupidest thing I saw all week that went all around all the news forums.
The non-news news.
The non-news news. It was pitched as KYLO Ren has been worshipping the wrong helmet in The Force Awakens. This is not Darth Vader and all that stuff. Sounds really interesting. It's like, something's come out, maybe like some article or something. But no, all it turns out is David Prowse tweeted or put on his Facebook a photo of the prop, the original Darth Vader helmet prop that was used in the fire on Endor. And people were like, that's not the same one that KYLO Ren has.
So does Prowse have the actual helmet then?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a prop.
Yeah, he's got the prop, but
people are jumping to the conclusion that no, it's not Darth Vader's helmet. It's the other the other Darth who was burned, like Darth Jim or something. Just a random other Darth.
Well, because it was made of fiberglass or whatever. It's just kind of like separated. All the fibers have come out, and it's kind of green. It looks really like it's not melted like the metal helmet has.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a prop, but the way this news came out, it was. So
people were taken out of context in every way.
Like it was a scandal.
Ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure if you look into it though, probably the lightsaber that Rey uses is probably not the exact same one that Luke Skywalker picked up.
Spoilers.
Sorry for anyone who hasn't seen this film yet. If you haven't seen this film yet, then what are you doing?
There's probably many of those lightsabers because
I mean, is the Millennium Falcon the actual original Millennium Falcon?
No, they rebuilt that.
Well, there we go then.
Exactly. I jumped to a weird place when you said they've been worshipping the wrong helmet. I was like, what is it? The helmet of Lance Armstrong? What are we talking about here? Like,
it's actually the Batman cowl from Dark Knight Rises.
Some nearsighted guy in the prop department is just like, it's black. Well, that does it.
The Batmobile is in Star Wars.
Huh?
The Batmobile is in Star Wars.
Where?
They built
Wait, The Force Awakens?
The Force Awakens. They built the Batmobile from Batman Begins.
Oh
into
yeah, and
the
they
bottom
stuck
of
it
the Millennium
on.
Falcon.
Yeah.
That's quite cool.
Just as I can't remember the reason, but the very
It's an escape pod.
the very first, I think it was the first teaser for Force Awakens was looking at the construction of the Millennium Falcon, just kind of spanning.
That was the second teaser they did for. They did that for the. What's the thing they do every year? No, what's the thing they do every year?
Oh, Disney Celebration. Yeah.
They did it for the celebration, and the one where it just goes through all of the sets to show people they're doing practical effects.
Oh no, it was long before that.
Was it long before that one?
At least a year.
But then
before
again,
that.
I'm not sure if it's actually on it because they were just doing their like JJ and Zach were doing like their little tie-ins.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 'cause they're-
it was the actual thing, wasn't it? So that doesn't matter. Anyway,
that was non-news.
That was not news. The official Twitter account for Jessica Jones tweeted an image midweek. I think it was on Wednesday. It was just files out on a desk, and on the name of one of the files it said Luke Cage -November. Doesn't say anything more than that. But that to me kind of speaks towards a release date for.
It has a
Luke
specific
Cage.
date on it, so
Yeah.
I think we're gonna.
So
and
looking
plus,
like November for Luke Cage.
that's also when Jessica Jones came
originally
out.
came out, yeah.
So, and if we're getting Daredevil in the first part of the year,
Yeah.
that does make you think. So they could. Put
So we
something
might
in
get
the middle.
Jessica Jones in the summer then.
Yeah. Well, there's all this talk about them introducing more series, so they're gonna have to do 3 a year, especially if they're not the same staff. They can get away
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
When's Daredevil season 2 out?
It is
March.
March.
A week
End of
before
March.
Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
So
Was it week before? Okay.
it was supposed to be at the same time, but then
They
Well, they've moved it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
as well as that they've this also will most likely, if it's coming from Jessica Jones' account, which obviously there's no Luke Cage one
No.
really specifically right
Hi,
now.
I'm Luke Cage.
But people, again, this one has a following where they can advertise.
Yeah.
this.
Exactly, yeah.
But it could also be a hint about because
Jessica
their
Jones
character
being in Luke Cage.
exactly, and their
it's
characters are
probably-
interlaced.
I'd be surprised if they didn't crop up in Daredevil season 2. To be honest,
Especially since
Yeah.
the experiment stuff seems to be the running thing through. Like they all get their powers from chemicals in some way. So
Yeah.
this seems to be the running thing, other than Iron Fist, unless he goes to the Himalayas and fights.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was just
Chemicals
I was bathing in this drum of chemicals, and I just suddenly have these fists. They're like iron. I'll call myself Hard Hand.
It'll be great if he has like was it power sauce from The Simpsons?
Power sauce.
Or just apple cores and Chinese newspapers.
So Bob Iger earlier in the week, the head of Marvel, Disney.
Disney?
Head
Yeah,
of Disney,
yeah.
sorry, told the BBC that they plan to continue developing Star Wars well past the projected 6 films that we're getting, and Marvel films will continue indefinitely. So essentially, as long as they're still making money, there'll still be Marvel and Star Wars
Yeah,
films.
Of
exactly.
course they will, because Disney have got a gold mine with Star Wars now.
and Marvel.
Yeah, and Marvel, yeah, but Star Wars has just begun again.
In another Star Wars news, Den of Geek reported that Harrison Ford's return as Han Solo was not the first thing of Han Solo coming back. In the original script, I think it might have even been like partially shot. But in the original script for Revenge of the Sith, Han Solo, as a 10-year-old boy, was
meant to
supposed
be
to
Uncle Sheik.
Yeah, was supposed to be Uncle Sheik as Chewbacca's adopted son.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
So how about that?
Also, that's amazing because also I've
That's
seen
actually in. I've got the concept art book.
Oh, really?
And his,
I'm saying,
Han
yeah.
Solo's actually in the concept art book.
That's
Yeah.
that's one of the worst ideas that George Lucas may have had.
that. Also in episode 3, it's like when you see. I just noticed this, like I was just watching a couple of episode 3 like scenes.
Well, you see
this
the
week,
Millennium Falcon.
and you see the Millennium
Yeah,
Falcon when it's
Like,
coming out of
into
Coruscant.
Coruscant, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually watched episode 3 yesterday. There is a lot of rubbish in there. Most of it's acting and writing.
They're films at the time though.
But some of the concepts, some of the scenes are phenomenal.
But I mean, the whole sci-fi backdrop to the prequel trilogy is
Beautiful.
great.
Yeah, I
Like,
love the era. The era is awesome.
And when you look at episode 1, everything that goes on in it is great. I mean, the Trade Federation, sure, it's political and awful, all
Yeah,
that
but
stuff. But the actual design of them, the
Yeah.
battle
Yeah.
droids, the way they operate, it's fantastic.
And also, you
All
need that to build an empire.
The underlying
you know.
story, though, of all 3 films, like the whole political climate of all 3
Yeah, yeah.
movies, and the way it actually unfolds at the end of the third, is actually quite good.
Yeah, it is.
It makes sense, and you can kind of get the whole corruption and stuff.
It just
It's
becomes
that it's
too
not-
much of the focus.
It's just that it's not really
It's
well
just not
told.
sold well. Yeah,
It's not
execution,
told well,
yeah.
and it's not acted very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
basically. But you're right, the backdrop and the setting and some of the scenes are just incredible.
It just doesn't seem whenever you see the performances in it, and
I'm sorry, but Yoda is awesome in the prequel trilogy. I don't know why everyone hates him.
It was at the time. It was a product that I used to hate it, but before Episode 7 came out, I rewatched all 6 films with my wife, and the Yoda Dooku fight in Episode 2 I actually thought was really good. This
I
time.
love the way they
I
portrayed
was in
him.
hysterics in the cinema when I saw it.
Yeah, so was I.
was
But,
laughing.
but I was what, 13 at the time.
I
so-
wasn't even laughing. I thought it was awesome. I was like, that is how Yoda would fight. Like, he can't walk properly, so he uses the Force to propel himself through the air.
Well, no, a lot of people.
He's just like
Force
awesome.
fly.
And then the way he shows how powerful he is in the third film, you know, when he just walks into Palpatine's office and just throws the 2 guys against the wall, and that's that fight where they're fighting in the chamber. It's just awesome.
But a lot of people would have rather he wasn't more. It's not the fact that he's powerful and he throws himself around. A lot of people, I think, wanted him to be less
A bit
about
more
movement.
mysterious, yeah.
It's more about he's powerful enough that you wouldn't have to move. And I can understand it's about the choreography of those films. They're very heavily choreographed.
It's all about showing off the CG as well.
I get that, but I like the idea that they I just like the way they did it. I like the
It's
fact
an opinion,
that,
that's
I like the fact that he becomes, like, you see him as actually like he was, as opposed to like a young Jedi.
In his prime,
you know?
yeah.
In his prime,
He's
when
more
he's just
nimble.
And
incredible.
the quick backflip double beheading on Kashyyyk in Episode 3, that's great
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Anyway, we can
Sorry,
talk
yeah,
about Star
we
Wars.
digress.
We
We
can talk about
digress.
Star Wars for ages.
And also, just want to say, it's John Williams' best music, and that's better than the originals.
in the prequels.
In the prequels,
Prequel
yeah.
music is
It's the
fantastic.
strongest stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very-
breath.
I would-
It's
All the
brilliant.
dark chord
Episode
stuff, and
7
really.
Episode 7 was great.
Seeing that,
Anyway, moving on.
digressing.
Stephen Moffat earlier in the week announced that he will be leaving Doctor Who at the end of next series, and Peter Capaldi then said that he may follow suit. I don't know if that was officially from him or the BBC saying that, but you know, with the departure of Clara last series and the way this series was, looks like the BBC might be, I guess, looking to completely reshuffle the entire creative team behind Doctor Who for the
It's
series.
retooling, what they call retooling.
Yes, for what will be series 11. So that's quite exciting. And Stephen Moffat's done so much for it. He's made it absolutely fantastic. And this series was brilliant. But it'd be interesting to see, because Irv, you said it was the writer of Broadchurch that was...
Yeah, he's going to be taking over.
Yeah.
To be honest,
And
I
also, he's apparently like a huge Doctor Who fan.
Yeah, well, Broadchurch was absolutely brilliant as well. Well, I think that's why David Tennant was cast, because he was involved in...
to be honest, I don't see how they would stylistically change too much about Doctor Who. The way it works is like,
I mean, if you compare it to a lot of the older series, that there's so much that could be changed.
yeah, but you know what I mean, as in there is a tone to Doctor Who that I don't think they're going to stray too far from, in terms of, you know, Doctor Who's not known for having a ridiculously high budget. It's about almost this sort of... It has the campiness to it that works with it. It does have its tongue-in-cheek moments, like obviously the Christmas specials and everything like that.
They're brilliant.
It's very. It's got this traditional British TV special sort of identity to it, and I can't see them straying away from that, because it's just what it really is.
Liam Neeson is the new Doctor.
I would watch it.
I don't see it
I would
taking.
watch that.
I don't see it taking. I'm not a Doctor Who fan, obviously. But I don't see it taking a gritty turn. Or
No,
that.
not at all. I mean, it's the BBC's flagship sci-fi. So I mean,
Peter
you
said
don't-
in which he would make an ace Doctor Who.
Oh, it'd be
That would be
amazing.
great.
That would be amazing.
In
It's-
Butterfield makeup.
it's huge in America as well
Yeah,
for,
it's-
for its style. So I mean, if they changed it too significantly and they lost the American market, then
That would have a huge impact.
Matt Berry.
I don't know if it would.
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry is Doctor Who.
Either of those, I'd be happy with that, to be honest with you. That'd be awesome.
So very briefly, I'm sure everyone knows Gareth Evans, if you're an action film fan, director, writer, choreographer, producer of The Raid and The Raid 2. Midweek he released a short film on his YouTube channel, which is definitely worth checking out. It's called Pre-Viz Action. It's just a short, old samurai style film set in the sort of the samurai era. Just a short black and white film, but the idea behind it was he wanted to bring some of the choreography and style of the fight scenes and things in The Raid to a more PG-13
It's like
as
a
it
family
were.
type audience. perhaps.
Almost, yeah. It's a more PG-13
Taking
style.
it back to the traditional roots of what the kung fu films
Yeah,
are,
exactly,
where
yeah.
it's more about the choreography and action without
Yeah.
it being particularly gory.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's not. It's about the fighting, not the violence.
yeah.
Because the raid's very visceral
Yes.
in how it
Yeah.
portrays the violence, while traditional kung fu films are very much about the kind of martial art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the most interesting thing about the production of this short, I mean, it was planned and filmed and finals within the space of about 2 weeks. The first week was sort of working out all the choreography and getting everything planned out. And then it was shot in the forest in Wales. But the only people there was the only 4 people there. So it was Gareth Evans with his camera and then the 3 actors. So the entire thing is shot, like it's all done in-house just by Gareth Evans. And it's
So it's like a pet project
Yeah,
rather than
yeah,
a
but-
studio thing.
yeah, it is a pet project, but it's more. I mean, this is what I can do with, or this is what
Yeah.
we can do with very little, really.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing more sort of the secret projects sort of thing, because we've had that with like J.J. Abrams with that secret, well, sort of secret like Cloverfield thing, and also with M. Night Shyamalan with his Visit. That I still need to see, because it's supposed to be like a return to form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this happens a few times on YouTube as
Yeah.
well. Remember I can't remember who it was right now, but the director who produced those superhero side stories, he did he did Dirty Laundry for Punisher. He did the one about Matt Gargan.
Was it Shankler?
with Venom? But he-
because he like produced The Grey and
Yeah.
helped produce Dread, and he
Yeah.
done like Dirty Laundry.
Yeah, and he did 3 of them, and
Yeah.
that was that same kind of thing. It was just minimal pet projects. I know he did Punisher and Matt Gargan, and I think he did another one
He
as
did a
well.
Venom one. He did an Eddie Brock one as well.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah, that's the one he
Oh, and he
did.
helped produce like sort of like the Dread. I think he had a hand in that.
Yeah.
He didn't like do the animation, but the Dread, was it Judge Death? Sort of.
Oh, the Judge Death,
Yeah,
micro-series,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They did Judge Minty and stuff like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
There's all these. YouTube's become that platform where a lot of people can just.
Yeah.
Because again, it is just their own personal thing. It's not tied up in a studio.
A.D. Shanker or something.
Yeah.
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 But because it's you've got this platform where you can just put the information out there.
Yeah.
If it's your own project, it's not anchored by a studio or
Yeah,
anything.
same sort of thing with like
What's-
that Power Rangers reboot.
Exactly, the mini the
short
short
one.
thing
Yeah.
they did.
Short one.
Yeah, with Katie Sackhoff and
Yeah.
That was really good, actually.
Yeah.
and the Dawson,
Yeah.
Jason Vanderbeek,
The Dawson.
the Dawson, and
Previous action definitely worth watching, and all the like the soundtrack. It's traditional Japanese and Indonesian
Yeah.
instruments, and all the effects, editing, Foley, all that stuff was done in house and produced just by. So
it's great, and he's got the freedom to just produce it and release
Yeah.
it.
So
it's
just
a
for
great
watching that, it was fantastic. Craig, you said there was something else that you.
thing. Is this the sequel to What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, which was obviously one of the
Greatest films.
critically acclaimed, Mark's favorite film of last year, but a critically acclaimed film from last year, which was made by
Taika Waititi.
but it
And
says
written and directed by both him and Jermaine
Jermaine
Clement as
Clement.
well.
Jermaine Clement. Yeah, it says from
Yeah.
a maker of Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
and it's Jermaine's involvement. But as well as that, how do you pronounce his last name?
Waititi.
Waititi.
Waititi, yeah.
This is also another one to kind of watch because he's also doing Thor. Which
Yeah,
we mentioned
Ragnarok,
before.
yeah.
But they're doing the sequel to that, which has an excellent title, as it's following the werewolves that we got to see at 2 different points in that film, and it's
Werewolves, not swearwolves.
and it's called Werewolves, as
Yeah.
in we are wolves,
Yeah.
but werewolves.
Yeah, that's
And that's a great title.
genius.
You like those kind of titles.
It's so good. It's wordplay.
Extremely excited for that.
Yeah, especially since it's the same people. It's the same guys behind it.
Yeah.
So the actual.
And it's nice seeing smaller, more personal
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
You know?
Because that was just a low budget.
Yeah,
film, but it was
yeah.
so well done.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's so well done, and following and as well the lead actor of the werewolves. He played
I keep forgetting
Murray.
his
He
name.
played
Yeah,
Murray in
Yeah.
Flight of the Conchords. Is so funny.
Yeah, he's
He's also in
really
Yes Man. And
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And he's in The Boat That Rocked as Angus the Nut.
Yeah.
But he's so funny, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope the vampires make a little cameos like the werewolves
Yeah.
did as well.
I'm sure they will. Like, it'd be a waste.
And also
to not.
Stu's a werewolf now. It's like
Stu. It's so
who's
good.
played in real life by Stu.
It's
my friend Stu.
Yeah.
It's an excellent film, and I'm glad they're continuing
Yeah.
along the same sort of lines.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Something that was out a couple of weeks ago, which we forgot to talk about last week, but it's definitely worth a mention, was SNL Saturday Night Live did a very brilliant short undercover boss Starkiller base. And when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be stupid." They just what's the point in this? Because it's looking at Kylo Ren being undercover boss. I thought it was going to be terrible, and then it turned out that it was actually Adam Driver playing Matt, the radar technician. Yeah. But it was absolutely fantastic.
It's so funny.
I thought it was great.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a radar technician.
Oh, look, he lost his lights out. There's a light. Oh, hey. It just comes in. It's just so funny.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Yeah, after the rain,
awkward.
there's a rainbow. There goes your son, Matt.
I'm like 90% sure Matt is Kylo Ren. But yeah, we could quote lines all day. Yeah. But that's something that's definitely worth seeing if you hadn't had a chance.
So well
I knew you were Kylo when you first pushed me into the vending machine. I knew it was like, hi, I'm Matt.
I love the fact we get to see the Starkiller base canteen. I just find that such a funny
just the fact that Adam Driver can take it all so tongue-in-cheek, I guess.
A
credit.
The dude's got range.
He just made it so socially awkward. It's so funny.
It's not only a credit to him, but it's also a credit to the production behind Star Wars, because there's no way George Lucas would let that happen if he was still in the...
No. Well, he refuses to believe
Anakin Skywalker, undercover boss.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Josh.
He refuses to believe that admit the Thanksgiving special existed for years. Remember?
Special.
Yeah, he refused to admit that existed, and now it's everywhere because of YouTube.
Yeah.
And finally, Saturday night was the Screen Actors Guild Awards, or the SAG Awards.
SAG.
Some interesting wins there, which is definitely worth picking up. Leo picked up Best Actor in a film. Best Cast. They have an award for
like Best Ensemble
Cast, and that was picked up by Spotlight. So that's interesting. And Idris Elba picked up 2 awards, both for supporting role in a film for Beasts of No Nation and lead in a short TV series or film for TV for Luther.
Yeah.
There's great other awards as well. I mean, Brie Larson picked up Best Actress for Room, Best Stunt performances for Mad Max. There's a few others, but
those are notable ones that stand out.
The fact that Idris Elba picked up these 2 awards and it's been completely, and Beasts of No Nation, Idris Elba, and plenty of other things have all been shunned by the Oscars. You know, it's this whole controversy. Be interesting to see how the Oscars do go now.
Yeah.
When is the Oscars now?
End of February. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've still got the BAFTAs to go as well, don't we?
Are they after?
They're after.
Yeah.
Are they after?
I couldn't.
I think usually March, are they? I think.
Yeah, that's what jumps into my head, but I couldn't tell you for sure,
because they often go very differently from each other.
And on that note, we will be watching Spotlight and Beast of No Nation to discuss next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next section, I suppose. Now that we have Tom back in full swing, he's going to give us a brief retrospective on the Revenant and Creed. Just we've already discussed them obviously at length, so just give his thoughts and see if anything interesting comes from that. So over to Tom.
Well, bearing in mind I saw them both in one day, so
good choice.
Yeah.
Or did you see them in?
I saw Creed and then the Revenant. Just went better time wise. Probably should have been the other way around, because
you want to leave on a high.
Creed's inspired. Yeah, Creed's quite uplifting at the end, and then
hey bears.
And then in the Revenant, I was kind of like,
I'm not going camping anymore.
Into the woods. I was afraid of everything outdoors by the time I'd seen the Revenant. No, I enjoyed them both actually. I don't know what you guys thought of Creed, but I thought when it was being a Rocky film or a boxing film, I thought it was really good. I didn't think Sylvester Stallone would bring such a, sort of a heart,
nuance,
a heart and warmth to the film, which otherwise I think would have been quite sort of generic. Because the actual story of Adonis Creed, which is an awful name.
I think it's a great... wait. The thing I actually said was how good a name it was.
It's really bad. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh my God.
But it matches because his dad was Apollo.
Yeah.
So he's Adonis. It just makes sense.
Still bad. His sort of story I didn't find particularly compelling or interesting. I just thought it was kind of, we'd seen it before sort of thing. But I thought the fight scenes were awesome. particularly the first boxing scene, was so well filmed.
When you say the first, you mean the one in Mexico or the one?
No,
Sorry. Oh yeah, there was three.
You're talking about the one against Leo.
Yeah, the one where the whole thing was filmed like almost like a one shot.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And I thought I really enjoyed it. I thought that once again, Sylvester Stallone did a really good performance as Rocky. I thought it was ace. I just thought there was some cheesy bits in it, like when he was running through the streets and then the motorbikes came alongside him. All I could think when I saw that was Hot Rod. That's all I could think. I was like, this is just
cinematic masterpiece, Hot Rod.
This is just like Hot Rod.
That's a good point. But that's what makes the Rocky films what they are. That
was his stair run.
They're really dramatic.
They bring communities together.
They've got their dramatic scenes, their cheesy scenes, and their montage scenes. That's your recipe for a Rocky film.
That was a structure. Yeah.
But no, overall, I did really enjoy it. And then when I went and saw The Revenant half an hour later, that was different. That was a different experience. Amazingly well filmed movie, absolutely incredible. All I would say was, for me personally, I did find parts. I don't like being one of those people that says the film is too long, because I sat through Hateful Eight for 3 hours and thought it was awesome. But there were bits of the Revenant I felt dragged a little bit, kind of unnecessarily, and that's just a personal preference for myself. As I was saying to you,
it's mainly the dream sequences.
I don't like dream sequences in films. I find them I just find they take me out of what's happening. Like,
you don't like Nap Time, the movie?
The film. I just find the film worked so hard to create this feeling of just immersion.
It's grounded, gritty, and then you've got this.
Yeah, it was like the feeling of immersion and realism, like, because you said it was it's filmed with natural light and this kind of stuff. And then suddenly he'd be lying in a field with his wife hovering above him, and I was just like, I get what that's supposed to be showing me, but it just took me out of it.
You didn't like the abstract symbolism.
I completely agree with you, but
he's stripping due to blood loss, man.
Yeah, but I was mildly relieved, because when you see what Iñárritu does do with dream sequences and things like that. It could have been a lot worse.
I was worried, because I think we said before we'd all seen it that I was like, when I asked you guys, I said, is it quite trippy?
Yeah.
And I was worried how trippy it was going to be. But
like Birdman.
Minimal.
It did kind of, it was minimal, but it was made up for by the amazing the opening sequence where they get attacked. The bear mauling scene. I actually went onto YouTube the day after, because my dad was up, and I showed him that sequence.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he was just like, wow. it was absolutely excellent.
It's not visceral or anything, though. It's very calm. It's actually quite it's like, it's
I
not...
wouldn't say it was
the bear
calm.
attack.
Yeah, it's not like overly violent.
It's extremely violent.
No, I completely disagree. I don't think it was like, there wasn't... It wasn't Hollywood violence.
You mean...
It wasn't Hollywood violence.
No, let me...
It was real violence.
No, that's what I mean, though. It wasn't what you expected.
It wasn't Tarantino violence. It wasn't blood.
No, it wasn't Hollywood violence.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't
It
in
was
terms
less-
of... Like, as in, it was... When I say calm, I mean as in effects-wise. You're not hearing these huge, blunt, giant noises. Nothing was exaggerated. It's exactly as it probably should have
it
been.
was less that sort of thing, and it was more just the bear assuming dominance.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it was the bear scratching at me. It wasn't like every time he scratched, you heard these horrible, like, overly gruesome noises just booming through the
Yeah, you didn't
speakers
hear
and
like
stuff.
flesh tearing and things like that.
Yeah.
I did.
But also,
But it wasn't exactly.
You were watching with headphones on, weren't you?
But no, I mean, it wasn't exaggerated. The bear.
No, it wasn't exaggerated, but it was extremely violent, because it was so
No, but I mean, it was quite subtle in how it was done.
I find it.
It was exactly.
I
how
find
it
it difficult. I find it difficult to really take your meaning, because the way you're saying is like you're saying it's subtle, but I find, because it was so real, it makes it a lot more intense. Like Hollywood violence,
There's nothing to it.
You can separate yourself from it completely.
That was one long shot of what that's how you imagine being mauled by a bear.
Yeah, I mean, that's Leo on wires being thrown about a forest, like imitating being mauled by a bear. I mean, it's a fantastic performance.
yeah, and the stunt team just like holding him down.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
flinging him and-
But to me, I think that's one of the most violent things I've ever seen.
Yes, because it's. I would agree, because it's so real and because it's one shot. I know what you mean in the sense that it's not Hollywoodized in any way. It's
Yeah, I just mean as in
it's
it
like you're
wasn't
watching
overpower-
someone. But I think the words calm and subtle are not quite the word I'd use to describe
right-
it.
yeah.
But I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
I want to be able to clarify just before we go on what I mean then, because otherwise people will think I'm an idiot. Which is that it's, what I'm trying
Being
to-
mauled by a bear is
what I'm
very
trying to-
calming and
no,
subtle.
what I'm trying to say is that it's subtle in the way it was done dramatically through the film, as in it was done in a manner that they were restrained on the effects they could have used.
Yes.
Like
He didn't bleed for like 20
it
minutes.
wasn't this thing where you saw the bear, you turn around, you see the shot, and it runs at you, and it's a jump. It's not. It's like he's being hit by a truck. He is hit with the impact he should be hit with. When he's being scratched, it's not like they're throwing all of this blood on the screen, or you don't know his wounds properly until you actually. But the only thing that conveys what happens to him is his expression, and then when they see him lift his shirt, because the bear is,
and then everything just oozes.
Because the bear's not even applying what you think would be much force by the look on its face.
It's just kind of pawing.
It's just, exactly. It's almost playing with him to a point, but then you see it and he's mauled.
It's not romanticized or like overblown at all.
It's not Michael Bay bear scene.
Exactly. There's no lens flares.
It's also like musicless as well.
Exactly.
It's normally and you're like,
But the thing is, it's also not really I mean, it is, but it's not really the main point of the film. I mean, that's right near the beginning of the movie. Right?
Yeah, it's like the first half
and the rest
hour,
of the movie is just like.
I did think it actually took a bit to get. I thought
it was about an hour in. I thought it was quite.
Oh no, it's not an hour.
Is it not?
No, but it does take. It does take a bit at the start because you've got that whole opening scene.
Yeah. But I mean, and it comes out of nowhere as well. Like, it's not like you sort of see him and then it's like, oh, this is where he's going to get mauled by the bear. It's not like you can. There's these usually tells you can get when you see a movie and you think, oh, this is where he's going to get. This is where the big thing is going to happen.
This is the bear scene.
This is the bear scene. But it was filmed in a way like it's like you said, it just sort of comes out. And you see it coming at him, so you almost see it before he does, and it's almost like that time when you're watching a pantomime, like, he's behind you. Oh, I can't hear
because that's the thing. It doesn't need to surprise him. It doesn't need to be this jump where he's jumped by a bear. Because it's a bear. It's still if it's running at you.
I did say when I was in the cinema, I did twice. When he turns around and he goes to shoot it again, I was like, "Don't shoot it! What are you doing?" He's okay. And then when he fell out, he came off the cliff with the horse. My first thought was, "No, oh God, what else can this guy take?" Like, he falls off a cliff and he's just like mauled on the ground, and I was like, "Poor lad."
My girlfriend looked at me and said, "I'd be dead by now," and that was about 20 minutes in. It was like,
I would not have shot the bear. Let it go. Just let him walk away.
Would it have walked away though?
Because it came back for him.
I don't know.
It went checked on its kids and came back for more.
It's like, you okay? All right. But anyway, I thought I did really enjoy it. I thought that overall, amazing film. Again, same with Birdman though. I think this film. I think this. How do you pronounce the director's name?
Iñárritu.
That guy. Right. I think like Birdman, the film is better than the performances. I think
it's more like a sum of its craft.
The way the film
as a whole piece, Birdman was a great movie. I don't think it's a
testament to the cinematographer as well.
But the acting was phenomenal. But I don't think there was anyone particularly that was better than anyone else. They were all so good. And I think that's the same with Revenant. Is that the situations those characters are put in and the film itself is so good. I don't think it's like it's a Leonardo DiCaprio film. I think it's a film that he happens to be in. But the film is far stronger and far more compelling than any of the performances. And I think that's a good thing. And what I think it should be, hopefully, like Birdman, it'll be honoured as a film rather than I don't think it should be honoured as a specific performance. That's just my opinion. But overall, I thought it was ace. And I felt exhausted. By the time the film had wrapped, I was like,
especially after watching Creed and that both
films
deeply emotional films.
When I finished watching Creed, I was like, I've got kind of a buzz. I was genuinely like rooting for him. I was like, come on, which is the testament to any good boxing film, but particularly a Rocky film. And then after I've seen Revenant, I was just like.
You pretty much watched about 5 hours of people. You pretty much watched about 5 hours of people getting beaten on screen.
I did. But no, I thought they were both really good. I just thought there were points in Revenant where I thought, okay, it went on a bit too long for me.
Fair enough.
Shots that I didn't think were necessary. But I can see why they did them, and it was just beautiful. It was an amazingly well done film. I'm done now. You go.
So,
as per usual, Tom has the opposite opinion on a lot of the things we've talked about.
What? What have I said now?
Just me and you. We always generally have quite different opinions on things.
Probably, because you're usually wrong.
Anyway,
some cultures might believe.
So now, Craig, you've joined
this from the guy who thought the bear mauling was subtle.
Edit it out.
We're going on a teddy bear's picnic.
So next up, we've got our Tarantino 2 minutes with Craig.
It always goes significantly over 2 minutes. It's as long-winded as Quentin Tarantino's films.
What? But
Shots fired.
But you get the alliteration, so it works.
I know, true. That is true.
So Craig has now seen Pulp Fiction.
Yep, that was the second one.
Tarantino's second film.
Almost accidentally watched Jackie Brown because I didn't bother paying attention to the order. And I was like, they're both on. Nah, I'll watch Pulp Fiction.
So Craig, what did you think of Pulp Fiction?
I thought it was good. It's very well written. There's a lot of dialogue I did not particularly think should be in there. I know, like, this is the thing though. I know Tarantino's famous.
I think I know which dialogue you're going to say.
I know there's a lot of dialogue.
You've gone about the exchanges between Butch and his girlfriend.
Yeah,
in the
it's
pot
really
belly.
weird. Yeah,
Your granddaddy's
That's always bothered me.
This is the thing though. I understand.
Daddy's watch is amazing.
I understand.
That's sick.
No, after only seeing, the
was it.
3 films from Tarantino properly that I've seen, I do kind of see that he does the dialogue. He does these long, extensive dialogues so that one, he can make statements about culture and society in general, but he also does it so you can get a tone of this character and you get a bit of world building. I know he does that, and it's a very artfully done way. I prefer the way he shoots his scenes rather than the way he writes them a lot of the time in this film. While I really liked the way, because I just saw Reservoir Dogs, I really liked the way that was done, because the sort of dialogue that he did explore, which was Tim Roth's sort of section, that particularly had the most sort of extended dialogue. It worked quite well because the way it was shot I really liked. He doesn't particularly focus on these characters that shift in and out of shot. It's more about the scene itself rather than
also what you show and you don't show.
Rather than just a person's face that we've got to follow, using them as a marker. This one is the same kind of shooting again a lot of the time. He does the same corridor shot. I'm pretty sure he did it as he did in Reservoir. But there are times where the dialogue I didn't really think worked. One, the Butch and his girlfriend talking about pot bellies. I know a lot of people love that diner scene at the end, but I thought it was the second half of that diner scene at the end worked really well, and I liked the way that the film started there and essentially ended there. But I did think that whole first section to it ran on for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which bit's that? Remind me.
When he's in the diner at the end it's him and Vincent. It's Samuel L. Jackson's character
when
Vincent.
When they got civvies on and they're
exactly.
Yeah.
But when when Vincent leaves, that's when that part gets quite interesting.
Yeah, when Tim Roth.
The whole section before that, I wasn't too sure. I loved the wolf.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel's section is really good.
The best bits for me, the most compelling storyline is Vincent Vega and Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
I can't remember his character's name.
Jules.
Jules, yeah.
Yeah.
So their entire thing, when they're getting the briefcase,
Royale with cheese.
the Royale with cheese,
just
the head blowing off.
That's the best entire thing for me. I mean, the bit with Bruce Willis is interesting. I think it's
and Zed.
I like the conclusion
Zed's
to his
dead,
story.
baby.
Again, that's the thing. I could take these scenes and cut them up, and I like them completely. But there's parts. Again, the cheeseburger thing I didn't particularly like that.
Really?
But it comes up so many different points that it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's just
it's the through line, the necessary line.
But how does Uma Thurman's part really play over? Like, that's the thing. He does a lot of this is intersecting parts.
Yeah.
Uma Thurman's part doesn't tie into anything other than how are you doing?
Yeah.
When he goes into a scene later on, it's just really in there, so you get more screen time.
Yeah.
With him, and I just didn't really. Although him dying randomly in the middle, I just is that him dead?
Yeah. Well,
but because it's chronological, it's not chronological.
it's all
these things in
chopped
it.
up and.
So I love the way it's produced, but writing wise, I do feel it took a lot of the parts I liked about Reservoir Dogs, but extended it too far. So I still think Reservoir Dogs I prefer as a film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also was it John Travolta's? He's Michael Madsen's brother.
Yeah.
The Vega brothers.
Yeah.
Who then became the Venga Boys.
Touring around nightclubs in Britain.
Good points, Craig. That's pretty much exactly the way I feel. I mean, Pulp Fiction is probably his most.
It's the one that most people talk about.
Yeah, it's his most generally loved films, but I think it's one of his worst. I really do.
As a film.
As a film.
Again, it's a film that I can pick lots of parts I really like, but as a whole, there's a lot of parts I'm not sure I like it. I don't think
it's almost like fan service within a film.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think
especially for having a second film, having that already.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Tarantino wants to make the most cohesive overall story. I think he just wants to make a lot of stories.
That's the idea. That's that is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a mess of these ideas and stories just intersecting. And as a film, it works. It's a great film. it's completely watchable again. But
exactly. Everything I say is down to personal preference.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not any reflection, because like I said, it's a well-made film.
yeah. But
And
Reservoir
it definitely has
Dogs
a lot
is by far.
Yeah, I prefer
Much
Reservoir
better.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs is better, probably for a lot of the reasons that Hateful Eight's good as well. It's just because it's the same characters.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I don't know, you get to know them almost and almost like them.
And you know it's about to go down.
And I think I watched it at the age when I was too young to probably watch it. And I think the scene where he cuts off his ear, that's always stayed with me, and I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest pieces of like just really raw violence I think I ever saw. It's just like, "Bruh."
And also you don't see much of it as well. You know, just how
That's what I mean.
It just stays in the corner.
Yeah.
your mind,
But then
your
you hear
mind
it.
makes
Yeah.
up what you hear.
The camera just pans off and then pans back.
Yeah. But I think I said, because I remember years ago seeing an interview with Tarantino saying the reason he did that was that obviously you see the guy dancing to that song, and then suddenly he starts to saw his ear off with a razor blade.
Yeah.
And they said that the reason he did that was that he wanted to lull the audience into a false sense of security. So like basically you're there, he's dancing, it's quite sort of comical.
playful.
And then he just jumps on top
and suddenly,
of him.
boom.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't. Once the idea is, once he starts doing that, you know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
if you turn away, you can hear it and you know what he's doing. So your
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
makes it worse.
And also it
so you
makes
can't.
him-
Essentially, what he's saying is you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
That's why he did it. And I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
And also it makes him look even more deranged.
Yeah.
You know, because you have that, then he does it, and then also when he like starts talking into the air, and you're like, this guy's a nutter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
completely
there's
unstable.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no remorse to it because he's doing it in such a playful manner. It makes
Yeah.
it twisted.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
but I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, great Pulp Fiction 2 minutes, Craig.
What a long 2 minutes.
What's your
Next week,
What's your next one?
Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
No,
Yeah.
that's interesting to know that.
So, Craig, you've joined Irv and myself in the emotionally.
So I have seen Room now, which you two, like Irv and Mark, have been really imploring me to go and see the last week or so because I didn't have a chance to go see it.
Seen it
the
yet?
week
You seen it
previous.
yet? You seen it yet?
Which you guys have already discussed and gone into detail of with the previous week. So I'm not going to go into lots of little details. I'll just kind of share what I thought of it. You guys warned me as if this was going to be one of those things, like, because for anyone who doesn't know, I am a real sucker for any emotional stuff in films. It really does like hit me really badly.
Yeah.
And I'm always like the guy that gets like teared up in the cinema, and I do struggle with these things. So
Yeah.
I went into this being prepared to be broken by this film, because I literally didn't look up anything to do with it.
I didn't want to over prep you.
Well, even after you guys mentioned it to me, I didn't look up anything. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't do anything because I didn't want to go in with any kind of expectation. I did obviously expect certain things to happen because everyone knows it's the story about a room and the circumstances of which the two main characters are in that room. So I went in expecting that, and it didn't really go the way I expected, to be honest. As far as the way the plot progressed.
Yeah.
Didn't find it too sad. Actually, was quite uplifted by the end of the film. Not gonna lie. Because when I thought about while I was watching it, I was really prepared for things to take the worst turn all the time.
Yeah.
And it didn't often do that as much as I thought it would. But I saw it as a film of people overcoming circumstances, and the stuff that I was really like prepared to hit these emotional points. And I did get teary at like at least 2 points, but they were happy points. There were points where I was more relieved by anything, or like those sort of things hit me quite hard.
Yeah.
But the sad, even though there are very sort of intense points, definitely, and very dark points in it, it didn't go into the dark territory as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, because we said that, like, you know, it could have easily been
It
like
could
a
have been
horror
so
or like
much worse.
a PTSD trauma thing.
Yeah, it could have stayed the
There
entire
were-
time in
Yeah.
the room and ended in the room.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. It's an incredibly dark subject matter, but
Handled so well.
But yeah, exactly. But it was kind of about the after effects of it rather than the effects of being in the situation.
Yeah.
And I found it was very. It wasn't uplifting, obviously, in that sort of respect, but it was very much
uplifting and
it was
perspective.
Yeah, exactly. It was more of a relief at points because it was about overcoming circumstances.
Yeah.
There were two particular points, which I won't go into detail since Tom hasn't seen it, but there were two particular points where I was like, oh no. I thought I was completely fine. And I was like, okay, I'm okay. Oh no, it's happening. The tears.
Did you find parts of it calming and subtle?
Yes.
It starts off really with like the music and it's really
Yeah. It's
bright and
very
uplifting.
it's very somber in the
and
beginning.
a lot of the time it's followed the perspective
And then you're like,
of
oh
the child.
crap.
It's based on a book, and from the way the film's told, it does feel like the book would be done from Jack's perspective. The kid who played Jack is
Jacob Tremblay.
Outstanding.
excellent,
Yeah.
absolutely excellent, and the way you feel about him at different points, you know, he takes you. You feel frustration at points as someone watching, but you have to remember it's circumstances.
Yeah.
Who directed the room?
Lenny Abramson.
Yeah, Lenny Abramson. Yeah,
Oh, I
Abramson.
still need to see that. Frank's on Netflix, so I need to see that.
Frank's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Film 4 production as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also was it Film Ireland? I think.
It is an Irish production.
yeah.
Thing. It says at the start Irish
Yeah.
Film Board, I think.
Sweet.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great
Yeah,
film.
yes.
Super.
That's what we said. You know, it isn't just like just a thing. It's really funny as well.
Yeah.
There are
Tell
loads.
who
Yeah,
didn't,
exactly.
yeah.
It takes you up and down. It could have been this.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It could have
Exactly.
been this Aronofsky style film where it
Oh,
beat
God,
you down
yeah,
and made you
yeah.
feel terrible, but it knew how to use things in one way and then lift you up, put you down, lift you
Yeah.
up, put you down, and
Yeah.
keep you. You know, it didn't make one.
But it wasn't in a
it
super baity way either, because you
Yeah.
get so many just like
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't like in a forced way or anything.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and it doesn't always do what is expected, and when it does it in a very tasteful way. So I was really impressed by it, especially considering it wasn't a huge effects film or anything like that. It was just very much an emotional story.
Very character driven.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Told very well and very good characterization. Loads of little subtle things that you wouldn't think about because this is a boy who's not encountered the outside world.
Yeah, yeah.
But you don't really think about what these things that you take for granted, but they showed them in such an interesting and subtle way at points. And so I would definitely recommend seeing it. I really enjoyed it.
Did you see it with Steph?
I saw it with Steph.
How was Steph?
It was really tense at points. Really tense at points. And but as usual, Steph's very much heart on her sleeve when she watches these films. She was laughing out loud at the funny parts and curled up into the fetal position at the dark parts.
Yeah.
But no, it was an excellent film.
Great review, Craig. Great review. Now that we've gone back and covered the best of January, we shall now move on to the main.
What Mark
Oh,
considers.
You were going to say the worst of January.
Oh no! Onto our main discussion.
But
the
just-
worst of January.
Just as a quick thing, we'll just go over a quick best film of January. I'll just say.
Oh, we're doing that. We're doing that just now. I thought we were going to do that after.
Oh, we'll do it after.
Do it after. I thought we would finish on that.
Oh.
So yes, moving into the worst film of January.
I like how before we even go into the review or the title of the film that we're going to review, Mark's like, the worst.
The Big Short.
The Big Short. More like The Big Fell Short.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I've not seen it, so firstly, what is it in a nutshell that makes it the worst film of January?
so I came into it in a state of anticipation, I suppose. Big Oscar hype, like all the awards that it's
Big
not
actors
for. It's not
in it.
it's not picked up any of the previous awards, and so. But I mean, all the actors in it, the production behind it, the actual
The story.
the story is very interesting. Like it comes across great, but I was just taken by how smug the whole thing came off.
Okay.
It's a laborious watch because there's nothing like it's up its own ass really the whole way through. There's some strong performances in it, like the acting is fine, it's great, but it's overly technical and it doesn't take the audience seriously. I didn't find it take the audience seriously.
So does it play us for fools a little bit?
Kind
It's
of,
weird
yeah.
because it's like it's something
does it
that
kind of assume
some
that
folk would be like, "Oh, that's really funny," and then some folk are like, "Oh, do you think I'm an idiot?"
Does it?
You know?
Yeah. Does it kind of assume you're a dumbass one
Yes.
minute, and then does it go a little bit too technical the next?
Well, the way it works, I mean, it breaks the fourth wall a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That's weird for that kind of film.
There's a lot of technical jargon spoken about, which is fair enough. It's the talk of Wall Street. That's what they do.
And it has used a lot of asides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ryan Gosling, who plays a banker, a really smug banker, at a lot of points he's talking to the audience, like sort of narrating the film. But in scenes he starts talking
Turns
to the
to the-
audience.
yeah.
Right, okay.
That's okay. I'm fine with that. But the things that really got me that did not work at all is there's these three particular scenes where they describe something and then cut out. So the first thing's talking about mortgages and the way mortgages work with interest rates and bonds and all this sort of stuff. And then Ryan Gosling goes on about to say how, well, that's too technical for all you stupid people.
Well, he says, I know you're bored.
Yeah, I know you're bored. So here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain it. So then cuts to Margot Robbie in a bubble bath with champagne that then in layman's terms describes this section to the audience. And
that in particular was the worst one to me.
That was completely...
Yeah, because they got gradually better.
Yeah,
but
there are other ones where they use metaphors. Her one was just her talking in a bubble bath.
So it's almost like the flashbacks in Family Guy.
Yeah, it's like the asides, in Family Guy. But the thing is, later on, there's one that Chef uses, and he uses it's a good metaphor
visually,
roughly, at least visually interprets what he's meaning. Margot Robbie's doesn't have any kind of visual interpretation. It just treats you like an idiot. Yeah, it's the equivalent of the shampoo adverts where they say the person looks at you and goes, "Pay attention, here comes the science part."
Yeah,
always being like, you're not going to pay attention to the science, but here it is.
But the problem for me, it was in a film that's trying to take itself so seriously. There's hints of comedy, and I mean, Adam McKay is a comedy director, so there is elements of comedy in it, which a lot of the time I think falls short. Yeah. But in a film
in
a film that takes itself so seriously, and in the subject matter is so serious, it completely breaks the narrative. It completely breaks your immersion in these characters.
It's weird because it's really mixed match, because it's got like these things, and then it's also got like sort of Oscar beats, like someone with like it's also a shame because like it's all real people. It's all based on real people. I think someone who's like a brother that died.
I think it's real people, but names are changed.
The issue is they have all these different characters, and at no point do they all really intersect. It's just a group of separate people in separate stories. They're all told based around the same subject, and the only issue is, even though all of these stories have their own place in it, structurally the film really suffers because it can't pick the tone it wants to take. And the problem is it jumps between these tones in a very odd, untasteful way. It even at points admits to the viewer that it's getting facts wrong. Like it's one of the characters finds an article on a table and says, "This isn't how it really happened. This is how it happened. But this is what we're showing." And it does these points where it has some incredibly serious issue. Well, the whole thing is a serious issue.
It's extremely serious.
And I can understand if they wanted to do it in one particular tone, but the issue is it's very broken in its structure and can't really connect the parts well. Yeah, it's just got all these broken pieces that don't really fit.
I mean, the only bit of humanity that's inserted into the whole thing is a very short bit with Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
like at the end of this, people are going to lose their jobs, lose their homes.
Well, no, Steve Carell's as well. Steve Carell's kind of point. I that's the one thing I really enjoyed about it was Steve Carell's performance.
I don't know. I mean, I like him taking all these dramatic turns. I mean, he's a good actor, but he was too deadpan and too. He couldn't find. I know it's a horrible situation, especially on his character with his brother's suicide and stuff. Yeah. But he could find no joy in any of it. I mean, all the other characters. I mean, they're all despicable. Really, the idea is they see the housing market is going to crash
as an opportunity,
and so they work out how they're going to profit from it, how they're going to make millions of dollars from everyone's suffering, basically. But Steve Carell can find no joy in any of it because I don't know. It just. The best parts with him were with Marissa Tomei, with his wife, who was really underused because she's fantastic. And I thought they could have been a lot more focusing on him personally and maybe expand his character.
Because they were talking about how they were waiting for the breakthrough to happen with those two, but it never happened. Well, it does, but you know what I mean? It's not really made into anything.
Yeah. And then when it comes down to it, I mean, he doesn't even care that they're gonna make money or that they're gonna be taking money from all these banks or anything like that. He doesn't. Steve Carell didn't work for me.
See, I personally think he acted the role really well, and I found his character was the only one I was particularly interested in or thought acted really outside of what I would expect. But I feel like within the structure of the film, it doesn't fit. I don't think it's so much the role he played. I think it's when you put his role into this film and the way it portrays everything else. It's so skewed in this weird way, tonally, like I said, that he doesn't fit. He's playing this role very much dramatically with the comedy situations are more with his cast.
Yeah.
But it doesn't particularly blend with the film. Because I said Brad Pitt's very rarely used in this film, and he doesn't really act.
He was very involved in the production of it as well. So I think it's just because he
was behind the scenes.
Because there was another film that was supposed to be made a few years ago based on the source material that Brad Pitt was involved in his production company, but it never came to light. So it was re-scripted, and then Adam McKay picked it up. So Brad Pitt was behind the scenes a lot of it.
So it's like, it sounds like this film's kind of like, sort of a broken tapestry sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like
loads
of elements that don't really sit
It's
together.
not necessarily a bad film, it's just a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, there's great performances throughout. I mean, everyone in it does give a great performance.
Yeah.
So that makes it watchable.
Yeah.
But
same with Gosling,
it's
being
really
against type and that.
Yeah, Gosling was great as well. I mean, because he doesn't look like Ryan Gosling.
He's so brown.
It's a really bad spray tan, really bad hair dye job.
Also, Karen Gillan, she's in it as well.
Karen Gillan very briefly in it as well.
Very briefly.
And Rafe Spall was fantastic as well. Like the cast was diverse and interesting and great, and that makes it watchable, as well as the whole approach to the theme is interesting. It could have been a great film, but it's just the way that it's handled.
It's just when I got too much credit beforehand, because they're making a comedy film about the financial crash.
Because when I was reading it on the Sunny World thing, they said it's like a black comedy, and I was like, I mean, what would you?
It's trying to be a black
what would
comedy.
Who would you recommend to go and see this film? I mean, people like comedies, people like dramas.
I'm not even sure if it's a comedy. I feel like it's trying to be one of these slick sort of. It's almost this slick drama that with comedy elements.
I mean, it could have
tries to be
almost
smart.
It could have almost gone the style of Ocean's 11.
I was about to say that.
It could go that direction, but it just doesn't. It sort of works towards it a bit, but then abandons it and goes completely the other way, and it just ends up stylistically being a mess.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It does it in quite a shallow way, and because of the overall structure of it, you just don't get convinced by it.
I mean, it's like I said, it's a watchable film. I mean, it's by no means
it's not bad,
a bad film, but
it gets credit for
it's
nothing.
overhyped for nothing, in my
especially when this is nominated for best director and best film, when it's like,
But
Beast of No Nation should be there instead of that. Or Creed or Easy,
but it's a product of the Oscar season.
And also when everyone's attached as producers like Brad Pitt and stuff like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the film has got so much, sort of hype about it because of the cast as well.
As well as the subject. The subject is incredibly important to America.
And also we're sort of like trying to be forgiving, because also like the trailer wasn't necessarily funny, but it's like, hopefully this is hiding really good stuff, and it's like
especially now when you don't know how to take trailers.
You
don't know what you're getting.
Like, again, there's great performances. I'm not usually a fan of Christian Bale. I don't like him that much, but in this I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
And especially when he just comes from like just such a essentially an anal standpoint, or just numbers, and he doesn't read in anyone's situation what this means for people, but just the numbers aren't right.
But incredibly honest about it as well.
I read a really interesting thing about him. I mean, everyone knows how much of a in-depth actor he is and how serious he takes his roles. But I was reading, apparently for the entire time, like pre-production, he spent whole days listening to Pantera and Mastodon on repeat, just to nail like double bass and things. So his drumming scene was actually him self-taught, and like the double bass was on point. I mean, he's listening to metal throughout. He's listening to Metallica, Mastodon, Pantera.
This really overpowering music,
and that was glorious. Like for me,
I know, because I could tell it was real. I was like, you go, son.
Start with Mastodon, Blood and Thunder coming
on. Blood and Thunder was the first thing. That was fantastic. I will say though, one of the things that I hated about it as well was the stripper scene. I mean, it's really weird. Completely unnecessarily using sex, like just shoehorning it into a film. I mean, it's like this stripper, like it's similar to the style of the fourth wall breaking things, and they're using this stripper to explain how she's got multiple mortgages and how
she owns a condo, and
how bad the situation is getting because interest rates are going to spike, and she's got all these loans that are low interest and all this stuff. But she's doing it while she's a stripper, like while she's dancing for Steve Carell. It's just like, why?
Well, she's talking to you.
Yeah,
he doesn't care that she's.
They're having this
Yeah.
discussion. Like, so it's not a fourth wall scene. Like, it's not just talking to the audience. They're having this discussion, but it's in a strip club while she's performing. It just seems really unnecessary.
It also brought, like, you've just kind of made me think about it, but thematically the situation with the bankers repeats a lot. Like, I know they're trying to nail home that this is the way bankers behaved. But there's at least 4 or 5 different times they talk to ignorant bankers and get the same kind of information over and over. And it just shows that the film really does repeat itself in that way, that they just keep going to the same situations and asking people for more, to give you this little bit of extra information about it. But it does just keep repeating it. And it does, you do get, different information from each situation. But was it really necessary to keep putting them in these same meetups over and over again?
Yeah, I'm a fan of some of Mackay's older work, particularly the other guys, but this just didn't work for me. I didn't think he approached this very well.
But again, the subject matter is such an important thing in America.
Yeah,
it's such a big part.
It's the world as well. It affects the worldwide economy. I mean,
so it did try to tell about
perspective.
and it did try to tell, like, it did go into all the technical stuff with it, but I don't know, it
didn't sit right.
The
whole thing was a bit weird. So, anyone have anything more to say?
No, that seems all right.
It's now time for the 3.
The
critical 3 stage.
For me, I was extremely underwhelmed.
Because I would say whelmed because it isn't a bad film, but I would say underwhelmed because it's just the caliber of films we've had in January.
Would you say the film came up short?
I would say it came up very short.
In a big way.
My main issue personally was that I came into expecting great things because of all the hype behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and the cast and but
what about
pretty
yourself?
much the same. Underwhelmed. I would say whelmed because it's not a bad film, but
I'm struggling between. It definitely is not overwhelmed. It's definitely between whelmed and underwhelmed, because the issue is, like you said, it has good parts to it. Like I said, I really liked Steve Carell's part in it, but the film overall, just when you walk out, I felt more. This is the film I felt saddest coming out of. It's like afterwards you feel miserable about the situation. That when you see how the results of the whole situation, even though it's past tense, you feel sad about that. But it was also the film didn't. You think about the film and you can just see a lot of flaws that usually you could forgive if you really enjoyed the way the story was told. But and also, did you ever laugh properly? All I ever did was like just the odd chuckle. Yeah, exactly. You never full on laughed at anything. It was just kind of, if Ryan Gosling did something, you'd give a little smirk. Kind of, but you know what I mean. The overall structure of the film didn't sit right. So no, definitely no more than whelmed. Tom,
what
opinion that you think you'll have?
Will you go and see this film?
Based on what you've all, no. I will watch it at some point, but I don't think I'm going to
not rush to the cinema.
Watch it. And I think for a film that I'm probably going to be underwhelmed by, I don't think it's probably worth it. So thank you for saving me.
So, and the final word, Irv, what you were wanting to...
The final word? I've forgotten my words.
I think we should save...
on the January.
Did you... is there a list of things that came out in January?
Well, we've
just everything that we've seen this month. So the main ones...
But I can't remember everything I've seen.
Hateful Eight, Revenant, Creed, Room, Big Short.
Big Short.
Wasn't it, I think, before Hateful Eight?
No, that was like the...
that was pretty much
that was the first week.
You may have seen something in January, but it was probably a December release.
So those are the big ones. Who wants to go first? Mark? Yeah. What's probably the best one?
It's difficult. I mean, the best ones for me were Hateful Eight, Revenant, and Room.
And that is
not in that order. Those are the 3 outstanding films. They've all, for me, outstanding. I'd have to say probably Room is the best film in January because of the way it's done.
Yeah.
But Hateful Eight is probably still my favourite. If Hateful Eight my favourite, Room the best.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say Room's... I think Room's my favourite and best. I still enjoy like Revenant and Hateful Eight and stuff. And Creed, I think it's the most enjoyable film.
Creed, most enjoyable,
film. But yeah, Room just because it just has everything. And also... And it's weird, like looking at The Big Short, you laugh more at Room. Which is a
worrying thing to say.
Yeah. So.
But again, when you see it, you can realize why. It's just if you read the synopsis and you said that to someone, they would they would think you were dark.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I would say it is, although Revenant I think is the best made film.
Yeah.
I think personally it's between Room and Creed, because I really, again, like Irv, I really enjoyed Creed, and I thought that it took everything about Rocky but made it a bit more sentimental. I felt with
Bit
I
more
liked
modern.
well, exactly. It took a step forward but still followed the typical Rocky framework.
Formula,
And I liked the kind of, living up to the legacy story they did. It was like he was his own enemy. I really liked that.
Yeah.
Like a mirror, you gotta get your way.
But they also
He comes out with some great
exactly. And
I finally understand shadowboxing in there now. And everyone said that, I was like, I just feel like an idiot. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it's because you're like dodging yourself. That makes so sense.
But Room is probably the best one as far. I think as far as it's probably going to be the best one if I think sort of dramatically, not like enjoyment obviously was Creed. Room, I think that was definitely the one where it's sort of
just end it there. The one. It's the one.
It was the one. It also did the same thing that Creed did. When we were talking about that, where where they discussed how Creed had the thing where it's like, see the guy in the mirror, and that was the plot essentially in this sort of statement. Like that's the opponent. It's about you overcoming you. Room did the same thing with your strong is my strong. And that was kind of the framework of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that was I liked how they just, it's like, this is the sentence that has the meaning. But those two films. Room.
So we don't recommend Big Short, we recommend Room.
I can tell that.
So
I'm getting that vibe. Yeah.
Tom.
Well, I haven't seen Room or The Big Short.
Not missing anything.
Apart from Room.
I missed it.
Yeah, you're missing everything.
You're missing the films.
but based on what I've seen, Hateful Eight, hands down. Hateful Eight.
Kurt Russell.
I like every single. I like that film from start to finish.
I'm right there with you.
There was nothing about that film I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it without the interval as well. So
How?
went to
Where?
Belmont.
Okay. Belmont had no intervals.
And it flowed so much better in my opinion. People were saying to
It's
me,
a shame, cause it's a sort of a break, it's like...
Yeah.
It makes you divide the film into two parts.
That's Tarantino being Tarantino is like sort of deepest sense really. But I just thought I think you said, well, it's probably the best written. Because it's just the film. I think what Tarantino always tries to do in all his movies is he tries to create this kind of dialogue that just flows and just keeps you engaged all the way through.
It's his best flowing dialogue as well.
I could have sat and watched a 3-hour film of them talking around that table eating that stew.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is just great.
Engrossing.
This is exactly, and he creates these almost like cartoon-like characters, but in this very sort of brutal setting.
Yeah.
I just thought everything about it.
And it's funny, the most gruesome part in that whole film is just when Sam Jackson just licks his lips and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Which is saying something when there's so much other gruesome stuff in that. But that's the one that just makes you go, ugh.
Folk getting heads split apart.
chill,
I'm absolutely gutted that I have a Cineworld card and I can't watch that film.
Again,
I can't watch it every week. Hands down would. I went in, got a large last day, sat there, just took it all in on my own.
Yeah.
Friggin' awesome.
Yeah, I loved it as well.
Can't wait for the Blu-ray.
Tim Roth.
Oh, it's so good. Just
a Lincoln letter in the States.
I mean, the whole... Even that was just like, it's such a weird little thing, but he just pulls it off so well, and it makes so much sense. And every little thing in that film has a story behind it. Like when you see the little sweetie on the floor and stuff, and Lincoln letter, there's always like something behind everything that he does. There's a reason
every camera shot has something. Like when you see someone looking at something and the camera shows you it, you're being shown it for a reason.
But
fantastic.
It's tailored.
The thing I really liked about that film the most, though, is that Tarantino does a really good job, like with Reservoir Dogs, of setting it in one sort of place. You can, when you come out of that movie, right? You can draw on a piece of paper the layout of Minnie's haberdashery. You know where every single point, everything takes place, and you pretty much live in that space.
At no
the
point did it feel claustrophobic, despite it all being
one shot.
And there's points in it as well, like where in different corners of the room, it's almost like a different type of film. Like with the change, that's almost like horror movie-esque, and it's just it's awesome. And I love snow in films.
Yeah,
that kind of worked for me.
Snow and blood.
Yeah, because also it's like we haven't seen like none of us have seen that twice because it's also supposed to be like really interesting second viewing, especially when you know like Jennifer Jason Leigh's character goes.
Yeah.
Like keeping an eye on her like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
She's great. Takes it like a boss.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely does. And even the bit where she sings in it, like I thought that was really nice.
It was really good.
Yeah.
But there aren't many films where you can have a cast of characters like that in one room talking.
Yeah.
And have it that good.
Yeah, that good. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And how that picked up no nominations. Like
I know.
when you have that compared
Especially
to
when
The
it
Big
was
Short
released
and you're like, what?
Well, it's got nominations for score and costume
Yeah.
design and stuff.
I'm surprised it's not got any nominations for screenplay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
does it not?
I don't think so. No.
'Cause I think-
I don't think for the Oscars.
I'm really surprised that hasn't got best original screenplay.
Especially since part of the reason it got released at that point was so it could be in the window
Because
for
Yeah.
nominations.
Django got best original screenplay.
So did Inglorious.
yeah.
Yeah, well there you go. Yeah, so I'm very surprised because I think this is
Much better than
Oh, it's
Django.
just, I can just sit and watch it. I want to watch it now. I want to just sit and watch the whole movie. It's so good, so good.
So so we got two votes for Hateful Eight and 2 for Room. So
So we
Well,
got two.
considering Irv
Let
controls
them fight.
considering Irv controls the audio, we win. edit their choices. So it's just our voices saying it's Room.
Well, I actually think Room is the best film of January.
That's good though. So I think that's like the overall winner of like January is claustrophobic settings.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Tom doesn't say room at any point, find him saying rude and then put him drinking rude.
Deep character focused films.
Yeah, films that are not big special effects movies, just
Or over bloated with stupidity.
Although we didn't see Ride
Yeah.
Along 2 or
Dirty Grandpa.
So we are pretty skewed in our choices.
True. It's
Yeah.
true.
yeah, it could be Ride Along 2.
Sorry to any listeners, we have done you wrong.
Yeah.
Can only apologize for not taking those into account.
Yeah.
I get my unlimited card on Monday. I might like subject myself to some,
Subject
some
yourself.
genius, some
I'll-
masterpieces.
I'll come with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go and... sorry, I'm going to have to go and pay to Hateful Eight again. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it. Never
Well,
mind.
thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome, as always. Thank you for the coffee.
Let us fade out then. Fade out. Out.